Hello, it's Alpha here, and today I'll be showing you my rank 1 regular arena defense team. Now I know that this might not be the most accessible team for everyone, because it does utilize some more niche heroes, but I think it is one of the strongest defense teams that you can build right now, so if you are interested in that, then let me show you how it works. Also, I do plan to make another defense related video with some more commonly used heroes, so maybe that will be more helpful for you if you don't have some of these heroes. So this is the team that I'm currently running on my non-free-to-play account. If you've seen my recent arena PvP tier list, some of these heroes might already look familiar to you. This is the core team lineup. We have Iger, Satrana, Bonnie and Dunlinger, and then the last spot is a bit more flexible. Right now I've been testing between using Siren and Talene as the last spot, but I know that some people are using, for example, Athalia in the last spot. But it of course depends just on what heroes you have, because I don't have Athalia on this account, so that's why I've not been testing this team with her as much. But yeah, this is the basic lineup for the team, and I'll talk a bit later about like why we're using these heroes, and then maybe some potential heroes that you could replace. But first, let me show you some of the fights with this team. So here are some examples of defense wins. This one is with the Talene as the last spot. So just to kind of like give you an idea that this team can work even at like Paragon disadvantage. So it's not only because like I have high Paragon team or whatever. And yeah, here are some examples of the defense logs. So mostly wins, some losses as well. I think when I checked it was something like 40 wins and 6 losses or something like that. So yeah, you can see that there are some losses as well. So there is no team that is like unbeatable. If your opponent knows what they're doing and they have the heroes and the levels to do it, then you are going to lose. But at the same time, I would say that this team definitely requires your opponent to do some work to win against it. So why are we using this team and these heroes? I guess we can start with Dunlinger because he's quite important in the team. So Dunlinger's job is just to prevent heroes from using ultimates during the first 12 seconds of the fight. And if you think about some of the most common attack teams that people are using, it's something like Theodore plus Siren, or Pandora plus Tassi, or Pandora plus Shemira, for example, or Aaron Ulmus comps. And what all of those teams have in common is that they use ultimates to win the fights. They used fast ultimates, powerful ultimates. And for example, because we are using Satrana and Bonnie in our team, they are weak to crowd control effects, especially at the start of the fight. So if you don't have protection from ultimates like Aaron and Ulmus combination, your Satrana and Bonnie might die before they actually get to do anything if the enemy team has like burst heavy team combined with Aaron and Ulmus. So that is why we need protection from ultimates, and that is where Dundinger comes in, because he's kind of like the only hero that can actually prevent ultimates from happening. Then we have Bonnie and Satrana, and those are our damage dealers in this team. And the thing about Bonnie and Satrana is that they don't rely on casting ultimates, so obviously that works well with Dundinger because we are preventing ultimates from happening. So Bonnie and Satrana don't care that much about casting their ultimates. What they do is they spread debuffs on the enemy team, and then slowly the enemy team will die. And Satrana provides a vitality reduction to enemy teams, so that means that their healing effects are not going to be as effective, and that is also quite important because I guess in theory, if the enemy had enough healing, they could maybe sustain against your damage over time effects, but with the Satrana's healing reduction, it's not going to be as easy for them to heal the damage coming from the damage over time effects. Satrana also works because she deals magic damage, and for Bonnie's debuff to spread to the enemy team, you need 3 sources of magic damage in your team. So Bonnie is one of them, Satrana is another one of them. Then we have Igor, and Igor has kind of like 2 main roles in this team. One of them is that, quite a lot of teams are using Athalia because she is super strong, and Igor is one of those heroes that can survive long against Athalia, because usually Athalia's ultimate will kill whatever hero she is ultimating, but she actually can't kill Igor with her ultimate. So Igor's main job is just to tank heroes like Athalia, and usually your other team will die quite quickly, and then your Igor will just survive, while the damage over time effects from Satrana and Bonnie stay active on the enemy team. And then, like I said, the last spot is quite flexible. For me, like I said, I don't have Athalia, so I'm not using her, but I'm not sure that she's even best in this team, even if you did have her, because Siren and Thaleen are quite good, because they do magic damage. And like we said with Bonnie, you want as many sources of magic damage as you can, and both Siren and Thaleen do like area magic damage at the start of the fight, so that means that the Bonnie's debuff will be spreading faster into the enemy team. And yeah, that is basically the whole idea of the team. You prevent ultimates, you spread the debuff to the whole enemy team, and then your Igor will hopefully last long enough for the debuffs to kill the enemy team. Couple notes about the team. It's a little bit tricky to do the placement of the team because you want to keep a couple things in mind. So one of them is that you want most of your heroes to be next to Satrana, because at the start of the fight, Satrana will give the spark to allied heroes who are within 2 tiles of her. So usually you want at least most of your heroes to be next to her. Then you ideally want to have your heroes so that there are not many spots for like assassins to target your heroes, or like Rainier swap to happen on your heroes. So that kind of limits how you can place them a bit. And then also, if you are using something like Siren in your team, then you want to have your Dunninger placed so that the buff from Dunninger hits on your Siren, because then your Siren can still cast ultimate. Because if you don't know, Dunninger has the ability to block all of the ultimates, except he can make it so that one of your heroes can still cast ultimates, and obviously Siren has powerful ultimate, so you want Siren to be the target. And in this image you can see the light circle above Siren, so that means that he is able to cast the ultimate, but you have to have the Dunninger and Siren placed in specific way for it to target Siren. So it can be a bit tricky to place all of your heroes, kind of keeping all of these things in mind. And a couple of things that I've noticed with like different placement of the heroes is that sometimes your Siren can die too quickly if he's not placed in a good spot, or sometimes your Igor can die because we are having Igor at the very back. So if the enemy team has enough burst, sometimes your Igor can die, especially if like the enemy team has like higher paragons and your Igor is like quite low invested. And then sometimes your Bonnie can still take a lot of damage even at the start of the fight if the enemy team has like a lot of like area damage. So those are the couple things that I would keep in mind. And if you see from your replays that you're losing, then maybe check if some of these things are happening, and then maybe you have to like switch around the team placement a bit. So for example, if I notice that my Siren is dying too quickly, you could maybe try to place him a bit differently like this. Now obviously this maybe opens up some other like assassin type of attacks for the opponent's team, but you could try something like this, for example. Or then you could altogether like remove Siren from the team and then act like Tailene and do something like this. These two have been really the ones that I've been like mostly using. So then what are the potential like hero replacements for this team? Yeah, the Siren spot, aka the 5th spot, is the most flexible. So I would say that you could definitely use Saida instead of him, and I think that is probably even stronger than any of the other options. Like she can be really powerful in this spot, and she also provides some extra tankiness because you can place her like, for example, at the very back, or you could place her at the very like front, and then some of the enemy's attention will be drawn into Saida instead of your other team, and then also she provides the shields at the start of the fight, so some of your other heroes will be more tanky, so Saida definitely can work. I did some testing on the Pioneer server with this team using Saida, and it seemed like really strong, but on the live servers I don't have Saida, so I haven't done that much testing using her. Like I mentioned earlier, Athalia and Tailene are definitely options that you could use. And those are probably the best options. You could maybe use some other magic damage dealers that do like some AoE damage. So Brian, I guess, could work in this spot because he can do some like AoE damage and magic damage. And then like Cryonaya, for example, does AoE magic damage as well. So you could maybe use them instead, but I would prefer to use the other 4 options before them. And then for Igor, I don't think that there are any replacements except maybe Saida, because Saida also is kind of like this stall type hero, so Saida can maybe work. But other than that, for Igor's spot, I don't think there is like good options for like stalling the fight. For Satrana, maybe she could be replaced, but the damage over time that she provides is great combined with the bonus damage over time, so there is definitely like synergy there. And then she also has the vitality reduction, so I feel like she is quite important part of the team. But if you were to replace her, I guess some magic damage dealers like Saida, Tailene, and Niru could maybe work instead of her. Now Niru might have some like anti-synergy with your Igor, so you have to keep an eye out for that if you are using Niru, because Niru can like attack Igor's tombstone, so I'm not actually sure if he will like destroy your Igor's tombstones, but at least, yeah, something to keep in mind if you are trying to use that one as well. And then for Tonninger, I don't think there is a replacement really. Team using Igor and Athalia can be like decent, but it's definitely not the same, because at that point you are opening up your team for, like we mentioned earlier, like some kind of like ultimate combinations with Aaron and Ulmus, for example, and then that can mean that your Bonnie and Satrana doesn't actually get to do anything in the fight, and then this team kind of falls apart. You can still definitely win because of the combination of Igor and Athalia, so your Igor will be jumping around and Athalia will be killing the enemy team, but at that point, if you are like planning on relying on that combination, then I would probably change the other team as well, so that I would not really be using Bonnie and Satrana anymore at that point. So I would use some other heroes in the team. So how do you win against this team? I'm not going to show replays of how to win against this team because, well, it depends on like what heroes you have and what version of the team and what placement the opponent's team is going to be using. Maybe on like some other later video I can show you some ideas as to how exactly win against this team or some examples. But these are basically the heroes that I think that you kind of need some mix of these heroes to win. The main kind of like strategies for winning against this team is to also play the same like stall game and then like using the same debuffs on the enemy team. So that is kind of like the one way. I guess if you are able to like make your Belran survive, then he can also like kind of like solo the enemy team, especially if they don't have Athalia or Saida in that team. If they do have Athalia, it might be like really difficult because even though your Belran can maybe tank one of Athalia's ultimates, he won't be able to heal back to full health, and then Athalia will eventually kill Belran. And then I guess there is one option that you could try to like burst down the enemy team, but that one is quite difficult because you can't use ultimates because of the Dunninger. But there are some like strong burst heroes without ultimates, and then at that point you probably also need Sandrock in your team because Sandrock can destroy some of those Igor's tombstones so that the enemy Igor can't like stall the fight long enough. I feel like those are kind of like the different ways that you can try to win against this team. But yeah, that's it for this video. That is the defense team that I'm using, and that is probably one of the strongest defense teams that I can think of. Hopefully this was interesting, and I'll see you next time. Bye!